Well, with Spider-Man Brand New Day coming out, we wanted to give you our tier ranking of all the Spider-Mans. Let's get into it. As you know, there's 9 Spider-Mans if we include all the Spider-Mans since the early 2000s. Ryan, what's your 9th place ranking?
So coming in at number 9, I have Spider-Man 2 from 2004. This is the one with Tobey Maguire, and the villain is Dr. Ock. And for me, I'm not much of a Dr. Ock fan as a villain. I don't think he's that good. I don't see what the appeal is with Dr. Ock. I know a lot of people say Amazing or Spider-Man 2 is one of their favorites, but it just is a stale movie. There's not really that much more character development with Peter Parker in the film. I actually watched it a couple of days ago, rewatched it. Dr. Ock is just not a good villain. I don't like his character. I don't think he's that good. And so for me, I'm going to have this as my number 9. What about you, Kevin?
So ditto for me. My number 9 is no other than Spider-Man 2, 2004. So in this movie, we have Tobey Maguire playing the lead as Spider-Man. I don't know about you, but as far as my rankings, we did put out a questionnaire for you to see who do you think is the best Spider-Man. It's certainly not Tobey Maguire for me. I don't like his performance. Even when I was a kid at the time that this movie came out, I was just like, I remember going to my mom because I really didn't understand that 30-year-olds play teenagers. I was like, Mom, why does this 30-year-old man here playing a teenager? And she would tell me that the reason why the 30-year-old men play teenagers is because the actual teenagers, the directors don't think they act very well. So they get 30-year-olds to play the role. It was very apparent to me. I didn't really like his role here in this film. Additionally, like Ryan mentioned, the villain in this film was not great at all with Dr. Ock there. I didn't really buy into the actor's portrayal of him. And I just could not buy into this film, even as a child. So this is my 9th place film. Ryan, what's your number 8?
So for me, coming in at number 8, this might surprise some people, but I have Spider-Man Homecoming from 2017 as my number 8. And the reason why I have it as my number 8 is because Spider-Man, played by Tom Holland in this film, seems as though he is not the star of this movie. It seems as though he has to rely too much on Tony Stark's character for insight on how to defeat the ultimate villain in this movie, being Vulture, who is not really that good of a villain either, does not give that good of a performance. He's not memorable to me. And so I have no other choice but to put this as my number 8. What about you, Kevin?
So my number 8 is The Amazing Spider-Man 2, 2014. This movie, when it came out at that particular time, I was a young adult there in my early 20s or so when this movie came out. And what I thought about this particular movie, I went and saw it with my group of college friends. And so we went to the movies there, saw it. We were thinking that this movie was going to be great. We actually bought a midnight showing ticket to go see this movie on that Friday there, Thursday going into Friday. But it was just disappointing to have the overall premise where you see Gwen Stacy character being fallen off, and then you have Spider-Man trying to save her, but she ends up dying in the process there. This is a movie that attempted to be like Batman Dark Knight 2008, but it just couldn't do that. It was trying to copy the darkness of it, but it just did not feel like that was the type of mood or atmosphere that we like with our Spider-Man universe. So I really didn't like the film. It's number 8 for me. Ryan, what's number 7?
So coming in at number 7, I have Spider-Man Far From Home 2019. And again, we have to rely on Tony Stark in order to defeat the villain in this movie. I want a Spider-Man movie where Spider-Man is the star. Spider-Man is one of the most recognizable superheroes across the MCU, as we can see from this past movie that just came out this past week. Spider-Man is the star of the MCU beyond any other Marvel character. And you can debate that with me if you want, but we see that we like films where Spider-Man is the star. And again, as I say, this movie has him relying on Tony Stark's tech in order to defeat Mysterio, who actually happened to be a scam artist. He didn't even have superpowers. He was just doing illusions and stuff. And so I really didn't think that this movie was one of the better Spider-Man movies. So I have it as my number 7.
Coming in number 7 for me is The Amazing Spider-Man 2012. This movie was a reboot from the original franchise there with Tobey Maguire. Obviously, this one had Andrew Garfield as the lead and playing Peter Parker. This film, while I enjoyed some of the quippiness about the Garfield rendition of Peter Parker and Spider-Man, I really could not see myself with having Garfield as the lead as Peter Parker. He seemed a bit too tall. He seemed a bit goofy. And again, with that old trope of having someone who's 30 years old playing a teenager, I just could not really buy into this movie. And again, with the Emma Stone romance situation with her character playing Gwen Stacy, I really didn't buy into either of the leads here, Emma Stone or Andrew Garfield. So this movie is my number 7. Ryan, what's your number 6?
So coming in at number 6, I have The Amazing Spider-Man from 2012. So this movie is a middle of the pack Spider-Man movie. It is a reboot, as Kevin mentioned. Andrew Garfield's character does do a decent job of the wittiness of Peter Parker, putting that on screen. The main thing that I like about this movie is the fact that the villain is somewhat interesting to see when we have the fight sequences between Spider-Man and the Lizard. Mm-hmm. Those were very good fight sequences. You got a little bit intimidated by the Lizard size because he is a hulking figure of a villain, very intimidating. And so that's part of the reason why I like this a little more than the last few movies that I had mentioned. It is still a middle of the pack movie. It's enjoyable. It's rewatchable, but it isn't the best Spider-Man movie. And then another thing it does good is we have Spider-Man as the star, which is what I like to see. So that's why I have it as my number 6.
My number 6 is Spider-Man 3, 2007. So I remember going into this film as a teenager with my group of teenage friends, and we were expecting to see something that would knock us off our feet. What we got instead was a movie that was all over the place. It seemed to have this kind of Venom type of atmosphere to it with Tobey Maguire. Is he really Spider-Man or is he the Venom? Which one is he? And then you also have the Sandman, which I could not buy into as a villain in this particular film. And as you know, Tobey Maguire is my least favorite Spider-Man out of all 3 Spider-Mans. And for this reason, this is my number 6. Ryan, what's your number 5?
So for me, coming in at number 5, I have Spider-Man 3 from 2007. And so as Kevin mentioned, this movie is kind of all over the place with it having 3 different villains in the movie. You've got Green Goblin Jr., you got Sandman, and you have Venom, the actor that portrays Venom, Topher Grace is his name. A lot of people had issues with him being Eddie Brock / Venom because of his size. If you look in the comics, Eddie Brock is a muscular individual. And in this movie, we have a dude that does not look like he's seen the inside of a gym his whole life playing Eddie Brock. So that was a big issue. And then Sandman like you said, I don't buy into his motive to want to be a villain. It just didn't make any sense. And then also the best villain of the movie, I thought, was Green Goblin Jr., who was portrayed by James Franco. And that was probably the best part of the movie. So that's why I have it as my number 5. So
coming in number 5 for me is Spider-Man Far From Home, 2019. I like this particular movie because I enjoy Tom Holland's version of Spider-Man. He looks the part there, and he was given this position of being Spider-Man and hired for this role when he was in his 20s. So it's believable that a guy in his early 20s would look like a teenager. I also like his youthfulness, his kind of happiness, his learning about life, whereas I saw with Garfield and Maguire that they had already settled in and their performances were still. So while I didn't like the fact that this movie decides to take Spider-Man all the way to Europe, I did like the fact that this movie still had a great lead in this role. Now, Mysterio, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, I really didn't care for him. I like Jake Gyllenhaal as an actor in serious movies, but as someone who's playing a villain in a superhero movie, he doesn't quite get up to speed. So this movie is my number 5. Ryan, what's your number 4?
So coming in at number 4, I have The Amazing Spider-Man 2 from 2014. And this one is a hot take. I know a lot of people don't like this movie, and I never understood why. I thought this is actually one of the better Spider-Man movies because you get a good villain or 2 villains with Electro and Green Goblin Jr. The issue per se with the movie is the fact that the appearance of Green Goblin Jr. is not how you would expect it to be. I would rather it have been similar to how Spider-Man 3 at Green Goblin Jr. looking with the mask and everything. And this, he's an actual goblin looking individual. And it was like, you're just kind of shocked with seeing that on screen. But other than that, the villain and fight sequences with Electro were pretty good, especially with the electronic music of the Itsy Bitsy Spider crawled up the water spout deal going on. But I actually like this movie. So that's why I have it as my number 4.
Coming in number 4 for me is Spider-Man Homecoming 2017. This is Tom Holland's first appearance as Spider-Man and Peter Parker. As you guys know, I enjoy Tom Holland's performance as Spider-Man. This movie was very captivating because it re-inspired me to enjoy a franchise that leaving after the last Amazing Spider-Man 2, I was about fed up and tired. I remember then, around that time, one of my friends had actually talked to me and said that they were coming up with a new Spider-Man, that it was going to be a younger guy, and it wasn't going to be these old 30-year-old guys like the Tobey Maguires and the Andrew Garfields. It was going to be somebody youthful, young, who looks the part, who kind of fits the mold, and I enjoyed it. While I do know that some people didn't like Michael Keaton's performance in this particular movie as the Vulture, I do enjoy that scene that you had there where Spider-Man was going on to what appeared to be a prom date, and then you have Michael Keaton's character driving him off, and then he tells his daughter to get out of the vehicle, and he want to have a conversation with Peter Parker, and they have this "I know what you're up to" moment, but I can't say it right now, which is one of my favorite parts of the movie. So this is my 4th place choice. Ryan, what's number 3?
So coming in at number 3, I have Spider-Man No Way Home from 2021. And this movie was a fan event because we have all 3 Spider-Mans in the same movie. We have Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, and Tom Holland. And then we have 4 villains with Green Goblin, Dr. Ock, Sandman, and Electro. And then my favorite villain being Green Goblin, played by William Dafoe, because he gives a great performance as the Goblin. There's a scene where he's getting punched in the face and he's just sitting there laughing and taking it. It's not even doing anything to him. And it's just, William Dafoe is a great actor, and just his performance alone, if he was the only villain in this movie, it would have been one of my favorites. But I had to have this as my number 3. So what about you, Kim?
Coming in number 3 for me is no other than Spider-Man Brand New Day 2026. We just recently saw this movie in the theaters about a week ago. I enjoyed this movie. I like the fact that it had Tom Holland being Tom Holland. I like the fact that the movie had a lot of jokes and really funny scenes there, like the pool scene, if you recall, with Black Widow. And then you have Spider-Man, who's in his bathing suit, still keeps on the mask. That was a funny scene. But you also have some serious scenes where you see a young man trying to grapple with reality of how do you move on past youthfulness into adulthood there after college or after the stage of life where no longer are your parents shepherding you around and trying to be your caretakers while you get a little bit of freedom. So I really love the Spider-Man, the internal drama of this particular film. I love the funniness. I love the Punisher being a part of this film and providing us a lot of comedic relief. I enjoyed even the villain in this particular film, although I felt like there were some things that were still left on the table with how the villain was presented. I enjoyed it. And so it's my number 3. Ryan, what's your number 2?
So coming in at number 2, I have Spider-Man Brand New Day, the most recent Spider-Man movie from 2026. So this movie is just one of the best Spider-Man movies. Reason being is it is a true Spider-Man movie. Spider-Man is the star of the show. Yes, he does have the Punisher helping him, but the Punisher seems to be more of a side character in the movie. And that is the reason why Spider-Man is able to prevail at the end of the day. So I think Tom Holland does his best performance as Spider-Man in this movie. He's making decisions on his own. He seems to be more mature and he's better with his fighting abilities. And then we also get the Hulk in there, fight sequences like that. And then we get the little comedic stuff with the Punisher and him talking and having a little bonding moments. And the villains are not my favorite, but movie still overall is one of the best. So that's why I have it as my number 2.
My number 2 is Spider-Man No Way Home, 2021. This film was amazing for several reasons. I enjoyed the fact that we had the multi-universe in this movie. I enjoyed the fact that we had all 3 different Spider-Mans come back and then we make jokes about it. And the movie made jokes about the different ones, like Andrew Garfield with his quippiness, but not really knowing reality, with Tobey Maguire being the old man of the crew who's somehow still playing Spider-Man at 50. And of course, Tom Holland, my favorite Spider-Man, as you guys know. I also enjoyed the return performance of William Dafoe as the Green Goblin in this movie. And though he's aged a bit, it's been 20 something, almost 25 years since he first started his role back in Spider-Man 2002. However, he still looked the part there, and he did an amazing performance with playing this person with this schizophrenia type personality who's saying one thing and then saying another. And it's almost like 2 people in the same body having a conversation, almost like we're watching The Lord of the Rings and we're looking at the precious. But I digress. This movie was a fun, action-packed movie. I enjoyed every minute of it. It's my number 2. Ryan, what's your number 1?
So coming in at number 1, I have no other than Sam Raimi's Spider-Man from 2002. Mm-hmm. So this movie is my favorite Spider-Man movie, particularly because of the nostalgia. I remember being 8 years old watching this movie. It was the first time I had ever seen Spider-Man or a superhero like this, of this caliber, on screen. Mm-hmm. And I think I remember we rented the movie, and I believe Dad might have been out of town. And I remember us eating some cookies, some chocolate chip cookies, and we went to the bonus room and watched this movie. And this movie was so good. You got William Dafoe as the villain. As I said before, William Dafoe is the best Spider-Man villain portraying Green Goblin of any of the villains in the MCU for Spider-Man. And so just how his character is, he's saying 2 different conflicting things. He's hearing voices and all throughout the film. One is making him do evil stuff, and then at the same point in time, he's trying to talk himself out of that kind of stuff. And just that overall Sam Raimi Spider-Man score. It's something about that score from that movie that it just brings back that nostalgia. So that's why I have this movie as my number 1.
So another ditto, guys. My number 1 is Spider-Man 2002. So this was the original Spider-Man of this millennium. And the reason why I really enjoyed this film is it has the best villain, and that is the Green Goblin, played by William Dafoe. He did an amazing job, again, here, more so than any other particular film, of showing how the Green Goblin is just this regular businessman who's at the end of his middle age, who's somehow haunted and by this other personality, this other part of him. And we start not only looking at how does our Tobey Maguire, Peter Parker, become Spider-Man, but we're also looking at the same time, how does this middle-aged businessman become the Green Goblin? And you see one scene where Tobey Maguire's character is Peter Parker's becomes Spider-Man. You switch over to the other scene where you see William Dafoe's character becoming the Green Goblin. And it's so interesting, and I enjoyed this film. I was a kid. I remember we watched this movie, went and got chocolate chip cookies and put them in the oven, started eating them. It was one of the first times we got to see a superhero movie in our life that wasn't a silly little joke type movie. It was actually a serious film. I have this as my number 1. So guys, we would like to know, what are your rankings for the 9 Spider-Man movies since 2002? What movie comes number 1 for you? Do you like the Peter Parker, how it's played by Andrew Garfield? Do you like how it's played by Tobey Maguire or Tom Holland? Please list that in the comment section below. And remember, Fright Fam, be watchful.